Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Devin Thomas back with another episode of Unscripted. I'll tell you what, it's been a long fucking week, but I think things are starting to turn around. Not even turn around. Things are looking up, I guess, if you want to put it like that, from a moving point of view. A lot of things happened this week, creatively and just like personal life with the move. But yeah, I guess I'll start with the move. So we've been waiting, doing open houses, kind of just fucking trying to find the right buyer. And we had a great open house this past weekend and had two really interested parties. And from what I've been told, one of them are ready to like submit an offer. So things are moving forward, which is a blessing because like the next place I'm getting into is contingent upon this house selling. And usually, like, because I have a real estate background myself, I wouldn't do a contingent sell, but like the buyer, or rather the seller that's selling us the new house, and then us as a seller of our house, it just makes sense. I wouldn't do it as a buyer probably for myself, just because I feel like contingency could be like, you could run out of time to sell your house and then like the next person can come take your place. And that's kind of what we've been in, but thankfully like it hasn't been that extreme. And also like the place we're moving into, it's like a specific situation with somebody who they really want us to have the home. So I'm really excited about that. But that being said, another realtor we know came in with her clients and was like, hey, like, I think this is a great fucking house. And they came 2 times to see it. They came the first day of the open houses and they stayed for like 2 hours and 45 minutes, the entire duration of the open house. So like I've been to open houses as a buyer and I've done a lot of open houses myself as a realtor in the past, but oh my God, if somebody's there that long, they're fucking interested. Also, like I've been to houses where I'm like, I want it. You almost get territorial, like I need to be around the house. Like I want to make sure even if somebody else comes in, they feel like, oh, those people seem serious. Maybe we can't pull any tricks to try and get it, whatever. It's the psychology of buying a home. Also, like I used to see people get crazy buying a house. I'm like, God damn, like they really want it. It's kind of like what I said last week about people going out to buy food and shit in public. Like when you really want something, especially like a house or an asset, you go a little fucking crazy. You're like, I have to have it. It becomes your obsession. It becomes a thing you want. So with that being said, I don't think these people are obsessed or crazy. I think they're excited. And they came back the next day with their kid. I think they have one son. And I don't know. It just feels like the right people. And the realtor's been texting our realtor, and it seems like it's all coming together. So I'm really excited about that. It'll be nice to move onwards and forwards. By the way, like I'm looking at my phone. My printer's jammed. I usually have my like nice paper notes. I hate that I'm using the phone because I feel like it looks like I'm like kind of cheating on the podcast. Like, I don't really need to pay attention, but that's not the case. And look, I don't even really need the notes. I usually sit with my desk and I take like 20 or 30 minutes before I start a pod and I just brew on it. I'm like, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? And lately in this new environment, it's been a little different, but if you see me looking down, it's because I'm just like checking my notes. My notes aren't like, it's quite literally unscripted. I'm not fucking like reading off a script. I'm just, moving sucks. That's one of my segments. And it does suck, but like it sucks for different reasons than you'd think. And I won't go down the entire diatribe of why moving sucks, but I don't know. This past week was very, really just fucking up my diet, to be quite frank. Like I'm trying to eat healthy, but like going out to eat is just simply not as healthy as just doing everything at home. So like we just caved this week, and this isn't going to sound healthy, but I made homemade pizza this week because like I've tried all the pizza in town. Like Monterey County is like, there's no good pizza. And it sounds super cocky and egotistical to say this, but I think I make the best pizza in town. And you never know, secret pizza may live again. It just was a hard thing to get started during last year with everything going on, Stevie's health. And like as a one-man operation, I just didn't see it. And I'm sorry if anybody was disappointed that they didn't get to try secret pizza, but maybe in the future, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so moving has been a bitch. I'm really looking forward to getting into the new place. If this thing goes into escrow, we'll start moving shit into the new place just because we know the owner, and like it's just they're the best people. They're really cool. I won't mention their names here for anonymity and privacy reasons, but great family. Really excited to be the ones taking their home, and I also am really excited for these people who came to look at the house because I can check on the Ring camera. I got to look at them. They look like great people too, and not that it matters, but it's always good to know when you send off a home or like anything. It's like selling a car. You don't want to go and sell your car to a guy who's like, I do demolition derbies. You might be, well, fuck you. Like I spent a lot of time in that car. I don't want it to just go to a derby and get banged up. You know what I mean? So we all have those thoughts, but yeah, finding out the house is probably going to be sold really good. Aside from that, this past week, been doing a lot of walking, heavy walking. Like it wasn't even like I wasn't, but like now that Stevie's feeling much, much better, we're going on night walks again. And I'm like just blasting almost all the way up to like 20,000 steps a day. A little under. I haven't hit 20K, but I also haven't been that like aggressive about it. So the fact that we are going out on night walks again, it just like you don't understand that extra hour of walking every day. It's like another 6,000 steps, and it's insane. I think I've walked 38 miles this week, and I'm not even trying to be braggadocious. It's just I like seeing those numbers. I like seeing that I've exceeded like the minimum of what I'd be expected to do physically. It's funny. My mom just went and saw her doctor, and they were saying like, "Oh, like you're doing an hour of cardio at like the gym on the treadmill. Maybe you should just try walking outside because they say the actual rhythm of walking outside is better," which is funny because I loved going to Planet Fitness or going to work out wherever treadmill, but it just made me so fucking hungry. And I felt like my intake was increasing because of actually using those machines, which isn't bad, but it's just when you're not able to use like your kitchen fully and shit, you start making bad choices. Let's just say that. And anyways, exercise wise, though, it's been good. Been really hitting the walking grind, and Stevie's been about it too. And like we've just been like more physical than we have been in a while. And I think also we call it movie shape, but like when we're getting ready to make a project, we're like, okay, like it's time to dial the fuck in. It's like I always see Sandler. He jokes, he's like, I'm either in really good shape or I'm really out of shape. You can't tell because he's like in those fucking giant fucking outfits he wears. And I agree. I think it maybe is a little bit of like you have your on season, your off season when it comes to like making movies and shit. Like if you're working all the time, great. But like sometimes you're like, it's a lot of waiting around. I've heard Robert Pattinson say this as well. He's like, I'll book a gig, but he's like, even when you get the gig, it's like you got to wait for like the pre-production and yada yada yada, like the actual fucking thing to like start shooting. And it's funny because that's kind of how I feel. Like it's a little bit of a purgatory, and we're staying busy. I got a lot of stuff actually I did this week outside of filmmaking, but when you're thinking about the next movie and worrying about shooting it and shit, it's a wait. It's like waiting for Christmas morning, and we all know that the anticipation of waiting for Christmas morning is probably one of the biggest anticipations you could feel in life, especially when you're young. Night walks, I guess creativity. Yeah. I've been focused mostly on trying to develop out my Alien short film. Uh, the short film was a huge success. I was extremely pleased at like the response, and not just like viewership so much as like the interest that people had in it was legitimate. Like I had people text me, I had people DM me, they're like, wow, I really like this. I'd like to see more of this. And I would too, believe me. Like I've been talking about this for the last few months because of like the UFO shit, the Disclosure Day movie coming out with Spielberg. And I've been like low key, like really like deep down the alien hole and also alien film hole for a minute, right? I saw that Charlie Sheen movie, The Arrival. That David Toohey guy, he's a great writer, great director. And like he's made he's really dabbled in this genre quite a bit. There's David Koepp. There's like a lot of people that have like written movies oriented towards like extraterrestrial alien, right? But I still feel like as a genre, it is so undertapped. And perhaps it's because people are afraid to touch the subject matter or they just don't know what could be original with it. But I don't know. For me, Encounter was really just an idea. Like I just felt like this is a story I'd like to see, and for how little time we spent shooting it, which I don't think that matters. You could shoot something in 3 minutes or 30 days or, 30 months. As long as the movie makes sense in the end, that's all that matters. The result, right? For how quickly we produced Encounter, went out, shot it, edited, the response was phenomenal. And I'm very, very excited about working on the new one. So this week, what I've really done with Encounter is I've worked on the first like 10 to 15 pages of the script where I'm building out these, characters. They're gonna be like brother characters, and I don't want to reveal too much, but I've been really focused on these first 10 pages because I'm like, also all my shit gets packed up usually because we have the open house, we were moving, so like I'll put it away, but like it's actually been helpful because my mind's able to brew on the idea more, and I come back to these 10 pages and I'm like, oh, like I could add this here, and I feel like I'm almost like redrafting like what I would do if I was reading the whole script, but redrafting just a small chunk. And with that being said, I'm really liking the direction this Encounter feature is going in because I've pitched it to Stevie and we've talked about it, but like I'm just enjoying the process. And also like I know that we're not going to be moved out all at fucking once. It's going to take some time. So I have a little time to write it and then redraft and just get it ready to shoot. But once it's ready, like once the script's done, like with this production, like I'm no longer afraid of just going into production. I know I can get it done. I know I can get the results I want. I can achieve what I want to do with it and make something really good. And that's my goal at the end of the day, is to make something that is like entertaining, uh, has the tone and the style that I want to portray on screen, which I trust my instincts. I mentioned that in my filmmaker mindset book, but like, I really trust myself. I trust my taste. I trust all the things that have compounded to get me to where I am, to how I even feel about making this type of movie, or knowing this genre and knowing what I'm capable of doing within that genre, even at this budget. I know I mentioned it last week as well, but you see the success of Curry Baker, Kane Parsons, and I even saw Curry Baker make a great, and those are the guys who did Obsession and Backrooms. But I saw Curry Baker had a great quote, and he said, "Stop saving up for the car explosion." Obviously, Curry is way further ahead of me in terms of like success and financial success in Hollywood, right? But I have been on that same wavelength as Curry all along. I believe that if you're trying to save up to actually do the big movie per se, that you're just really delaying the inevitable. Like you're just, or not the inevitable, but you're delaying yourself. You're getting in your own way. How much money do you really need to make the movie that you want to make? How many resources do you really need to do it? Or could you settle or fucking use some ingenuity to try and construct a script that lets you make what you want to make, even if it is on a budget? And that's exactly what he did. I'd like to go a little further on this as well. Curry Baker has gotten a huge backlash from people that worked on the film, saying that he is getting away with robbery and taking all the money. I don't know about you, but when you self-finance a project and you pay people to be a part of it, and the movie ends up doing really fucking well, despite what you think as a crew member or as a an observer, general audience, what you're saying is just, it doesn't make much sense. It's like telling, look, he spent like 750K making the movie, right? Out of his pocket, maybe he had investors, but I'm assuming mostly self-financed, right? Sells the movie for 10 or 15 to Focus Features, movie goes to theaters, makes 100 mil. And people are saying like, I only got paid $7,000 to work on the movie, or I only got paid 20 grand. Well, it's like, one, you took a job. You took a job in an industry where you should be lucky to have a job. I'm not saying that doesn't mean crew members aren't valuable. What I'm saying is that I've tried to get jobs in the fucking industry and I know how difficult they are. Welcome to Hollywood. It's not all fucking sunshine and rainbows, okay? Two, if you have a crystal ball, perhaps you can predict that the financial returns on this movie are going to be massive. I'm pretty sure Curry Baker felt pretty good when he got that $10 or $15 million check after fucking whatever, Sundance, Tribeca, wherever it premiered, South by Southwest, I don't remember. Sure, I'm sure he felt great. To have it go on to be a massive success financially in the box office during a theatrical run, even better, especially in 2026. And then to have people complain about the success of the movie, it's like, do you not see how this benefits you too? You could go out there and make a movie like Curry, and you could have that success. And now, if you're a crew member on his movie, you can leverage that to get higher paydays, to show the world that you are somebody who is a part of something bigger. I'm sorry that the crew did not get paid more, but Curry put up all the risk. He put up all the money. He paid people to work on it. Somebody was trying to say he paid people under union wage. I read that he paid above union wage for an indie film. Also, unbelievably, 750K is an indie film. I want to say anything under 5 million is an indie film. By definition, I'll look into that, which sounds fucking ridiculous. I get it. 5 mil liquid just to go and blow on a picture. Back in the day, I think it would have been a true indie, right? Like whatever, like something 750K, whatever. I think even Soderbergh's first movie was 1.2 million. So like, I get it. Indie. In today's day and age, it's not very indie to go out and shoot a movie for $5 million. That's just my opinion. Unless you're doing everything by the fucking book, I consider myself like a true indie auteur. Like I am out there filming something extremely low budget. But to the point of Curry, he made a legitimate independent film by Hollywood standards, paid people well. The movie went on to have success, and now people are crying. I even saw the main actress in the movie. She's a former PlayStation Twitch streamer. She got paid like 20 grand or $28,000. It's like, I don't know, $1,000 for every day you worked on the movie. It's not too bad. But people are angry because Curry got away with a big bag of cash. But you know what? He was already making movies before. He made that Milk and Cereal movie. Moving on, he goes to make Obsession. Now I see he's going to make Texas Chainsaw. I think people are just jealous of his fucking success, to be quite frank. And sorry you didn't get as much money as him or you didn't get paid. But hopefully, if you're on that crew, you can go out and leverage that. And that goes to any filmmaker. You might do jobs where you don't get away with the king's ransom. You don't get the big bag, the proverbial Hollywood payout. But once again, like, if you feel like that's what you want, then go out and make your own shit and don't work on somebody else's and feel like you're just doing labor for someone else. It would be like a contractor who's doing journeyman hours working for another contractor, and he's just like, well, I'm doing all the manual labor, but this guy is making, $1 million because he contracted it. But I'm sure that guy at one point was doing the hammer and nails himself as well. You got to put things into perspective, and you can't have entitlement issues. The guy who I actually saw say this, I can't remember his name, and I won't say it here, but he was some wannabe influencer on Instagram. And like, I saw like tons of people in the comments commenting on he's like trying to say Curry Baker robbed the crew. And all the comments on there were just like, hey, like, welcome to Hollywood. Like, you tell me you're a first timer without telling me your first time in Hollywood without saying it's your first time in Hollywood. And it's like, absolutely right. Do I think that makes what goes on in Hollywood okay? No. I've read about Hollywood accounting nightmares. I've read this and that. There's always going to be assholes and train wrecks and people that take advantage of people. But I certainly don't think Curry Baker was taking advantage of people. And that's just in his defense. Like, I completely get where he's coming from. He hasn't really said that much on it. But I don't get where people are coming to attack him. Just because a movie does well financially does not mean that the crew needs to get paid back massive dividends if it was unexpected or unprecedented. There's no way to predict it. So I'll end that rant there. But it just really pissed me off because it's like, there's some indie movies that also it's like, let me get to the core of this. Do you want to make a movie to just make money? I get it. Everyone needs to make a living. Or do you love making movies? That's why you got into it for the first place. Curry Baker was an influencer. I don't think he really had to get into making movies. I think he fucking loves movies. And I think that's why he's in the position he's in now. And I'd say the same for Kane Parsons, which he wasn't getting as much heat for this as, Curry, and perhaps because he went with a studio versus an independent. But yeah, it's just interesting. I really don't like when people feel that sense of entitlement that like, I should have gotten paid more. It's kind of like, well, tough shit. You didn't. And the, world's moving on. So yeah, I guess go book the next gig. Even in Entourage, I remember Ari tells, Vinny Chase, obviously this is a movie star versus a crew member, but he says, always book your next gig before the next movie comes out. Because what if Obsession was a disaster? Would everybody want to share in the loss that Obsession could have been, that $750K? Nobody else put up money, right? I'm presuming mostly Curry, or Curry went and got the money himself from other people, right? Who trusted him to do the job. Would they want to, if the movie failed and it lost $750K, would everybody want to chip in? Would everybody want to help pay off the debt? If it was a failed film, would you? I don't think so. I think you'd say, oh man, I'm glad I got paid on that one because that thing ended up being a fucking train wreck. I could go on and on with examples. Stevie used a great example. He said it would be like, the contractor building the house with the crew. I kind of use this already, but when they go to sell it, everybody on the labor being like, well, I know I got paid like, 20 an hour, but like, can I get $100,000 from the sale of the house? It's like, no, you didn't fucking get the loan or put up the capital to do it. I hired you to do your job. And my job is to sell this fucking thing because I've put together my business plan and orchestrated this whole thing. And as simple as that. And even a movie, it's a business plan. I get that. I was just saying, you're not just in it to make money. Of course not. Nobody gets into anything just to do money unless maybe if you're working at McDonald's, you know what I mean? But this case, I think, it's not even an exception. It's just like, dude, like you got paid to do a job. You're doing makeup on the movie. You're doing this or that. When was the last time you got paid like, $17,000 to do a makeup job? How many months of rent did that help you with or feed you or whatever? Or how many payments, car payments, medical payments? I get it. It seems like there's a huge disparity, but also, like I said, no crystal ball. Curry Baker couldn't predict the success. And guess what? I bet Curry's a pretty good guy. I bet you if you wanted to work on his next movie, you could ask him, just be, hey, Curry, I know you're doing Texas Chainsaw. You mind if I do makeup on that one? There you go. Anyways, people should keep perspective and not just go after a filmmaker who's had a lot of success. It must be tough to be successful because I think people will come at you just for the fuck of it at this point. Anyways, moving on. The other thing I did this week that was like really surprising was put out Peninsula Nights on YouTube. Peninsula Nights actually just celebrated its 2-year anniversary on June 8th. So I think today's the 10th. And it's fucking crazy to think it's been 2 years. But yeah, Peninsula Nights, we put it out on YouTube and, excuse me, I didn't expect it to have the traction it had. Not that I didn't think it would, but I thought over time it'll ramp up. From the minute I put this thing out, it has gone up to almost 17,000 views organically. Excuse me, which is fucking crazy. Like, it's a humble amount of views, sure, in comparison to like a Mr. Beast, like a fucking million view video or like a 10 million view video. But look, I'm a completely independent filmmaker. My subscribers have been going up on YouTube. I think I'm around 215 now. Before I put the movie out, I was at 80. To see that much organic growth just from like the feature film being out, I'm sure Encounter short film had some help with it too, but the movie, like I literally go on YouTube and I check and I see it's going up 1,000 views a day. It's really because YouTube has recommended the fucking video. It's getting recommended after somebody watches something else in a similar genre. This is the dream scenario for an independent filmmaker. I couldn't pay to market the movie in this way, especially not through YouTube. Like how? What, through fucking ads and stuff? Zero advertisement, complete organic growth. I think when you have something that's good, it's good. It's also a feature film. I know I watch a lot of movies on YouTube. I personally am not biased to streaming platform at this point. Sure, I like some more than others because of their like infrastructure. Let's just say that, the user experience. But YouTube is just, I've been saying it for probably almost 2 years now. It is the most powerful streaming service in the world. Curry Baker, he put out his movie, Milk and Cereal, on YouTube. It's led him to the success he's had at the box office now. Kane Parsons made all those backrooms videos on YouTube. This is amongst many other people who have just gone down the YouTube path. And I kind of told myself the other day, like I was looking at my like VOD sales on Amazon, I'm like, they're not even bad, but I was like, I think it's time for people to just see this movie and its full fucking, just like full release out there for the world. And I'm really glad I did because, probably between now and the end of this podcast, we'll break 17K. And I think by today, I think Wednesday, by Monday, we'll be in the 20s. And it's just fucking crazy to think that like this movie that we made 2 years ago is now reaching audiences all around the world. I look at the statistics too. People in Japan are watching this, India. It's just so weird. There's a lot of psychological changes that happen when you make a film, especially after you're done making one, you watch it and it works, quotes works. Like people watch it and are like, I can't believe you made a fucking movie. It's weird. It's weird to make one and finally be a part of the club, right? But now to know that people around the fucking globe, places I may never go, are watching this movie right now, it is absolutely mind fucking. Knowing that literally right now somebody is watching Stevie and Christine. It may be my scene too, but you know what I mean? It's a strange experience and it's humbling, and it's also kind of like nerve-wracking to know that you're just out there. And not nerve-wracking and like, oh, I'm out there, but like in an exciting way. It's like I can't believe people around the world are seeing this, and like it must be really weird to be like a fucking like famous filmmaker or movie star where like you put it out and immediately like, you're gonna get 100 million eyes on this thing. It's strange. It really is, and I don't know. It just excites me for what comes next. Anyone that is in this field will tell you, like, you obviously want success, but like really what I want to do is just continue to make movies. I love it. They give me a lot of purpose. They give me a lot of hope for the world. And I just love telling stories. Also, it's just like, I just love it. My favorite thing to do is go out, shoot something, come home, edit it, and just keep chipping away until there's nothing left to take away. And like, yeah, I don't know. Movies are a blessing. They're a really great thing. And to see the movie get out there in the world in the way it has and the capacity it has now through YouTube is, wow. It's very fulfilling. And, even the podcast, like I know some of the viewership was down on the podcast, admittedly, but I think it's also like maybe because Peninsula Nights is just taking that traffic from my, like, I got a lot of shit going on too. So I understand some people watch episodes, some people don't. I didn't really check my analytics though on not podcasts, on the Apple podcast and like Spotify, but my Apple I don't know who's out there streaming on Apple, but that one's always banging. YouTube is where I'd like it to be most successful, but like, I understand, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, and it's not going to deter me from continuing with the podcast, but it's just interesting to see how much, like most of my viewership this week, it is so funny to like open up my YouTube too and see like 18,000 like views over my entire account. Like I just can't fucking believe it. And look, I'm humble. I get it. If fucking some people get millions, some people get, tens of thousands. I'm happy with what I'm getting. My bar of success it's not even low, but it's realistic. And I feel like, dude, it is fucking crazy to see just that organic viewership. It's truly, truly mind fucking. I put in my notes, it's supposed to be Jordan Belfort. My only regret is I didn't release it sooner. Your only regret's going to be you didn't buy more. Do I regret not putting on YouTube sooner? Not really, because I've had such a good run between the festivals, the Q&As, putting it out through Amazon. It's just like, honestly, like it's funny. Like I said, to see Peninsula Nights have like almost like a second life. And I've said this before. I feel like movies age well. That movie will continue to get viewership. It'll continue to age with time. and become more and more ingrained in like not only the regional and fucking like Carmel community, Monterey Peninsula community, dare I say even like the Monterey County community, because it's kind of like a local love letter to the local area. But dude, Monterey I saw just had a $3.3 billion like tourism income. That was like their report for the past year. People love our area. And to be quite frank, there's not that many movies filmed in our area. And Peninsula Nights, I think, is a quintessential Carmel and Monterey movie, and Carmel Valley for that matter. And you can't tell me otherwise. Like, I've seen a lot of the local movies. I'm not saying they're good or bad. I won't speak on that. But I think Peninsula Nights is probably one of the better local films made since Play Misty for me. And I'm not comparing myself to Clint Eastwood. I'm just saying, like, I've watched a lot of films in this, you know, this area, and a lot of them are older. And then there's like, was it Big Little Lies and shit like that? TV series, they're good, but they don't capture the essence of our area in the way like, through like local eyes. I think only I could have made this movie, and Stevie and Christine as well, because we understand it. We're from here. We know it. But yeah, I mean, massive success with Peninsula Nights Online. And I'm excited to see where it goes, because I'm pretty sure this thing's going to run up to like 100K in the next couple months, yeah, easily. And it's also like, God, it's just so funny that YouTube, so many people are on it. They're just, the videos getting recommended all the time, all day long. Someone's always watching. And it's it's just been an experience, to say the least. So I kind of talked about already Encounter, been working on the feature version. I won't delve into it because I don't really want to reveal the plot. But similar to the other Encounter, short but expanded, and I think a fucking great alien movie, something that has a heart. And I think at the end of the day, it's what a lot of movies need these days. Because like, dude, you can have all the Flash and all that shit, like, sure, but like, I like a mystery. I like to get to know characters. What's funny is Stevie, when I was pitching the idea, told me, it's like, it sounds like safety not guaranteed, which is like a huge compliment, because I'm like, there's something about me that loves that indie 2010s 2000s film vibe, and to carry the spirit of that into something so modern, I mean, fuck, I'm just excited to do it. This is more of an aside too. Stevie and I watched Richard Jewell this week, and I'll get into Richard Jewell. I'll save this. I'll save Richard Jewell. But I'll talk about one more thing before we get into movies. So Stevie and I have been doing a lot of app development. We do a lot of stuff outside of film that's not just filmmaking. I'd love to make a movie 24/7. Believe me, especially this past year, I've been itching to get out and fucking shoot a feature, and we're going to. We're going to get to the new place, settle in, feature time, okay? But in the meantime, got a lot of, free time on my hands to work on other stuff that I haven't really had the chance to work on. And oh man, I've been working on a iOS game, and it's actually being sent to the App Store right now. We're going to see, it's going to be reviewed. Usually an app goes to the store and it gets reviewed, but this one is like a classic fucking video game. And I love video games. It's not something I talk about that much on here, but I've always loved video games. They're very entertaining. Games can get you through hard times. They can also, just help pass the time nicely, right? We're big Mario Karters here. We play a lot of Mario Kart World on Nintendo Switch 2. I saw James Bond First Light came out. This is more of an aside. 1.5 million copies sold in a day. I love the James Bond franchise, and those games were a huge part of my childhood. I think one of the first games I got was GoldenEye on N64, and like, I thought it was the best fucking game I ever played, and it still is great. It holds up. But besides the point, I've never been able to really develop a video game, and I'm finally at a place where I can. And I made a very it's a little bit more like retro, a little bit more I wouldn't quite call it pixel. It's an iOS game, so you can imagine. It's called UFO Run. I'll pitch it. UFO Run is similar to Flappy Bird, where you kind of like hold down and fly through a course, but like I said, I love aliens. I've been super into it. And I think Flappy Birds got banned or like removed. Remember that whole thing where they're just like, people are too addicted. And I'm like, well, I was addicted too. I miss it. So I kind of put my twist on a Flappy Bird-esque game, and it's different for sure. It's its own thing, but kind of like just like it's like a speed run obstacle course where you fly through barriers and gates. And I don't know, it's just crazy that we're able to produce these things. 2026, we're living in such a modern world and such a modern time. It's just crazy, and everything's like, all the prohibitive nature of perhaps releasing something onto a massive platform like the App Store is nothing short of incredible, that we don't have to worry about that anymore because we're able to figure it out just through information. And Stevie actually had a couple apps go on the store this past week. I think he had one that was real estate centric and the other one's more construction centric. And that's the thing I'm saying. It's like we're diversified. We're not like, look, I filmmaking is who I am. But I do think like a businessman. I do think like a tech entrepreneur. I've done startups before. I'm so glad I did startups too, like in the past, because like I've learned so much. I mean, Stevie and I had a meeting with fucking Sequoia Capital at one point to just fucking get like a real estate company finance. It's just you don't know where you're gonna go. You don't know what rooms you're gonna end up in. And it's just strange, you know. We're living in California too, so like I take it for granted, but like, dude, we're so close to like Sand Hill Road and all the big equity, you know. It's just funny. This game, I don't think I'm going for private equity or trying to take any money on it because I'm really releasing it and then releasing it for free. I may do an ad-free version in the future where I charge a couple bucks just so you don't have to worry about ads. But even right now, there's no ads implemented. It's completely going to be free. And I really want to see, because I haven't put out a game, I want to see how many people really want to play it. How many people want to play UFO Run and be on this app and use it, and user feedback, obviously important, but I'm just excited. I haven't done this before. It's a new space for me, but if this is the beginning of another space to get into, I'd love to get into like the video game sector. I love Rockstar games. I love Bungie, or I think it's, 343, the Halo games. I love Gears of War, uh, Fortnite. I love them all, but what I'd really love to do is write a video game, like a story, like the Grand Theft Auto games. Like, sure, I get it. Like there's like some nasty elements to it, like prostitutes and drugs and shit. But look, if I could make that type of game or write like that type of game, I would love to write a game. I love a story. I love weaving the story myself. And it's just something that's always intrigued me. Because I'd watch like Grand Theft Auto or play like Red Dead Redemption. I'm like, God damn, like this is a movie. Which makes me think like, well, you could adapt this into a film, right? Or you could write something for this. And like, it's really a matter of like, I mean, obviously there's not enough space for a writer, I think, in those areas because they probably got their team. They're a fucking multi-billion-dollar company. Even with GTA 5, I think people say they've milked the cow. I mean, what was it? Ridiculous, like over $5 billion generated, probably even more than that at this point. But yeah, something to look into. UFO Run is a far cry from Rockstar Games, but my point more so is just the idea of being able to get into the space, even if it's entry level to some extent. I'm very excited. And I'm excited that the app, like when you publish it, will go worldwide. And I just like, dude, there's so many people out there. Let's see what happens. I mean, Stevie had an app, literally top chart, I guess, but in whatever category it was, like business, I think it was number like 38, number 38 in the world. Yeah, keep in mind, like the internet is so powerful too, even with like Peninsula Nights being on YouTube. It's just like, you expect to get some views. You don't expect it to just be like pumping 1,000 views a day. It's fucking nuts. And I'm jazzed up about it, to say the least. Anyways, UFO Run coming soon. I'm going to get it out. And I'd love for everyone to play it. Give me feedback. A little, wouldn't call it beta because this is definitely, it's definitely going to be released. Fortunately, I can update it and do some stuff from the back end if I ever need to patch it. But I'm getting too nerdy on this. I'm getting down to the nit and grit. I'm excited to do it. Before I speak about these, I'm going to talk about some Spielberg movies because Disclosure Day is coming out, and I'm really excited to see Disclosure Day. But I forgot that I watched this movie, and I think I've talked about Richard Jewell before, but I don't really care. We've been watching. I don't even remember why we watched Richard Jewell. I think we just kept talking about like, oh, we got to watch Richard Jewell again. Man, what a movie! I was going to say this earlier. I've kind of met Clint Eastwood one time. I remember I went to a meeting at Tehama with my uncle and my brother and this other guy. And when we got there, it was early. My uncle's an older gentleman. He's in his like late 70s, early 80s, maybe mid 80s now. This is a few years back. But, he's the kind of guy who pulls up in a fucking red Ferrari to the country club. Anyways, he gets there. He's like an old cowboy, does the handshakes, like, let's go in. And we're there early. Like, he wanted like a 7 a.m., like an early older person meeting. You know what I mean? I think 7:30 in the morning. And we get in there and it's just us in the country club diner or like the Tehama, dining area, the bar is empty. We walk in and it's fucking Clint Eastwood just sitting there eating a bowl of oatmeal. And I'm just like, dude, I said that, I want to say I've told the story before, but it's relevant to this. The doors opened up like the Titanic, like the last scene with Jack and Rose walking up the staircase. It's just fucking Clint Eastwood sitting there. It's like, I immediately is like, I cannot fucking believe it's this guy. I was extremely like, look, this guy's eating oatmeal. It's his fucking place. I'm not trying to disturb the man. Sure, it's cool to see him, but I was like, the head nod. Stevie and I are like, hey, and he knew my uncle from just being at the club, a little casual, like, hey, like, how you doing? Like, he said, hey, Billy, how you doing? And then he kind of went back to what he was doing, and you could tell he was eavesdropping. We all kind of like gave him a head nod. I personally thought, I told Stevie later, I'm like, I hope he wasn't offended, didn't think we didn't know who he was, but I don't think that was the case. But it was just so funny. You could tell he's so interested because we were talking about a film project. It's his fucking industry, right? And he's like looking over the whole time, and I was just like trying not to like make eye contact. He's not even an intimidating presence. It was fucking just so Clint Eastwood. It was hilarious. Why do I say all this? Not just to tell a cool story and have a humble brag, right? Uh, we watched Richard Jewell, and the movie like literally has you in tears. It is one of the best movies I've ever fucking seen. Paul Walter Hauser and Clint Eastwood and everybody involved, Sam Rockwell, Kathy Bates, completely snubbed. I think Kathy may have been nominated. Completely snubbed. She may have actually won an Oscar, but completely fucking snubbed this movie at the Oscars. This movie, Paul Walter Hauser, give him a fucking statue. Best Picture. This thing, I think Parasite beat him out. I get it. Parasite's fucking incredible. It's a tough fucking beat. But I don't know about you. This movie, it just speaks to the times of even now, pointing the finger at the wrongly accused, abuse of fucking FBI and police powers, perhaps even NSA, all the three-letter agencies. Richard Jewell was subjected to the worst thing that can happen to a man, which is being falsely accused. And Paul Walter Hauser brought that character to life in such a way that, man, you just empathize with him. And he's so self-aware. He acts like, you'd think that Richard Jewell is this dumb security guard guy who is a wannabe cop, and deep down he's not. He's a smart guy. He's self-aware. Even when these feds are making fun of him or trying to entrap him, all he cares about is doing the right thing. He has a huge sense of justice. Maybe he's a little overzealous, but man, the movie literally, like, my eyes were watering at the end. I'm like, I just can't believe that not only was somebody put through this, but like the way that Clint Eastwood constructed and crafted that film was just incredible. And it's funny because Paul Walter Hauser, he was kind of out of nowhere. I don't remember how Clint and him met, but I remember watching a Paul Walter Hauser interview, and he said, like, I told Clint Eastwood, because he's like, I'm not like a super professional actor yet. He's like, I've done some acting, but I'm not Sam Rockwell. He's like, I'm going to need more than one take. And Clint historically does a take, usually one or two. And he's like, all right, moving on. We can't waste time. And he's like, Clint gave me that luxury to do more than one take, at least one or two. He's like, because I really wanted to figure it out. And it's like, good for him, because one, it's hard to stand up to somebody. I just told you, I saw Clint Eastwood. My fucking eyes just like, I can't even think about it now. It's like, whoa, like, he's a huge presence. He's one of the most recognizable people in the world. It'd be no different than if you walked in there and saw fucking Donald Trump sitting down eating a bowl of oatmeal. You'd be like, well, fuck, this guy is the center of fucking the media right now. Anyways, I digress. Obviously the collaboration was important. All the people played their part so well, but just the sense of injustice that happened to somebody where like he was made to be a scapegoat by the media, and to later not only he has the charges dropped in the film. And I'm sorry, if you don't know Richard Jewell, it's about Richard Jewell, the man who discovered the, I'd say pipe bomb, but it's like a backpack bomb at the Atlanta Olympics in 1996. He was the guy who found it. And because he found it, a lot of lives were saved. And initially he was looked at as a hero, but then the media turned on him and they said the FBI is investigating him as the actual culprit. And they thought he had a partner. They thought so many things. They tried to manufacture a narrative, which seems so relevant to today. In 1996, they were trying to manufacture a narrative, and like, it's history. Everybody's always trying to point the finger and you did it, he did it, whatever. They never want the truth out there, right? Maybe one may even say a limited hangout of information to try and just, give people confirmation bias. Richard Jewell, he fits the profile of the white male lone shooter at the time, right? Kind of like the OKC shit or any of those types of like, domestic terrorism bombings, right? But it turns out he's innocent. And it turns out that this guy who just believed in the system so much lost all of his faith of the institutions because they turned their back on him. And in the film, it also shows like his lawyer comes to him like 5 or 6 years after he's like, he's not even acquitted. They just say they're not investigating him anymore. They never give him the peace of mind that like, hey, it's over. They said you're no longer a suspect, but the actual guy gets caught. He confesses to it. And it's after he'd done other bombing. The other guy was a serial terrorist. He bombed all around the country. I think the last time he did it, he was caught up in some like hospital or something. He killed somebody, and guy's a sick fuck. I don't even know his name, and I don't really care to know it, to be quite frank. I think he's a total loser. But that being said, Richard Jewell was subjected to probably the worst thing that can happen. And the way Clint Eastwood did this movie was so tasteful, and it paid so much respect to Richard Jewell. I think the biggest travesty is that Richard Jewell never got to see this film and see his story told in a way that reflected on, in my opinion, because we know reality is always different than the movies, but it gave you the I don't even know how to say it. It's not even cathartic. For him, it would have been extremely cathartic. It might have been uncomfortable for him to even watch it. But because of all the elements of the film, Clint behind the camera, Sam Rockwell as a lawyer, Paul Walter Hauser as a fantastic fucking Richard Jewell, completely robbed of his statue, he brought that character to life in a way that, like, you want to just reach out and give the guy a fucking hug. You're like, yo, bro, like, you were wrongly accused. And I say all this to say, like, to have just been in the same room as the guy who made the movie, it's strange. Like, it was strange to see him and then know, like, I told Stevie that the other day, it's been a couple of years since we had that interaction with him at Tehama. And I told Stevie, I was like, it's just like, bro, we were in the same room as the guy who made this movie. But maybe one of my favorite movies. And it just shows you, like, the world's a small place. And the 6 degrees of separation, you never know who you're going to meet. I'm not banking on Clint Eastwood or anyone else to help me with my career or make my career happen. But what I'm saying is, like, just to brush shoulders, per se, with somebody of that level, it's just cool. And it's just, there was something you can feel as palpable magic to be around somebody who's climbed the totem pole of life so high and just continues to achieve. I think Clint just turned 96. I would love to see another Clint Eastwood movie. Juror Number 2 is a fantastic movie for a 94-year-old director. And I think it's what keeps him alive. Cry Macho, not bad, not my favorite. I love The Mule. I love Clint Eastwood's work, to be quite frank. I think he's just, and God, I always forget his name. The guy who kind of like taught him the whole game, the guy who made like Escape from Alcatraz, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Dirty Harry. Oh God, his name's escaping me. It's like not Rod Sterling. That's, I think, the fucking guy from Twilight Zone. Anyways, can't remember it, but he's in Play Misty. He plays a bartender. Really good guy. But yes, you could tell that he adopted a lot of his style and it was brushed into Clint's style. And Clint has just matured into maybe one of the best filmmakers of our time and possibly ever. Anyways, and then my Clint Eastwood rant, I didn't even have in my notes to talk about Richard Jewell. I kind of just thought about it. But that movie is a movie I'll keep coming back to. Every fucking time I watch it, it gets better. And the humor in it, Clint Eastwood has this fucking amazing sense of humor he puts into his movies where it's just so organic. It's how people are. It is what reality feels like. So, huge fan of Richard Jewell, obviously Clint Eastwood's body of work. I'll leave it at that. So, the next guy I want to talk about is Steven Spielberg. You know, Steven Spielberg is one of those filmmakers that I think he comes and goes in eras, you know, and personally, I didn't see some of his recent work. What was that movie called? Can't remember, the one about his life. But yeah, Disclosure Day. I remember seeing the trailer when I went to go see Avatar 3, which is another great movie, but was not expecting, wasn't expecting Spielberg to be putting something out. You know, he's an older filmmaker as well. And I was hyped after the trailer. Even when the trailer played, I'm like, God damn, this looks fucking good. And then it says like from Steven Spielberg. I'm like, well, fuck, that's why. But that being said, it's had us revisiting a lot of Spielberg's past work. And particularly Indiana Jones and War of the Worlds. I think I even had Jurassic Park on this morning. I've just been down the hole. And like, you know, I'm like one of those people, it's like, if I'm going to go see a Spielberg movie, maybe I'll brush up on some of his past work that I liked. I was reading a lot, though, into the making of fucking Indiana Jones. Stevie was telling me this story, or maybe it was in a podcast, but they were talking about how they cast Indiana Jones. And the way they did it was they originally, like, obviously George Lucas came to Spielberg and they conceived the idea, right? I think Lucas came up with the character and then they went from there. But when they were getting ready to cast, they wanted Tom Selleck. And I, like, Stevie told me, I'm like, Tom Selleck, that's hilarious. Because, like, I think of him as Richard from Friends, like Monica's older boyfriend. And obviously that's not all he is. I know he's Miami Vice and Blue Bloods. He's done a ton of shit. Tom Selleck's a star. But thinking about him as Indiana Jones, I'm like, it totally fucking makes sense. He would have been a great Indiana Jones. And especially, that was their first pick. They're like, Tom Selleck, he seems kind of like the guy. And in 1980, he was the fucking guy. But apparently, once CBS or whoever had the contract for Miami Vice heard about Spielberg and fucking Lucas sniffing around trying to get their talent, they're like, hey, we're going into production. And Tom had to say, like, hey, like, I want to be fucking Indiana Jones. Can you wait? And they're like, not really. Like, you're in a fucking television show contract. So, that's gone. So, fucking George and Spielberg are sitting around. They're like, I don't know who we can get. Well, I guess Spielberg saw a cut of, I want to say Star Wars, or maybe it was Empire. Maybe he saw some of the footage of it coming out, but they're watching it. And Spielberg said, like, what about that guy? And he points at, like, Harrison Ford. And he goes, George Lucas is like, well, that's Han Solo. He can't be Indiana Jones, right? And Spielberg's like, well, I mean, he would be fucking great. He kind of seems like it. And Spielberg looked over at George and he's like, okay. I guess a couple weeks later, he calls up Steven. He's like, well, I sent him the script. He wants to do it. And the rest is history, right? I think it's funny because, Harrison Ford is both Han Solo and Indiana Jones. It's a joke we make a lot. Maybe I heard it somewhere, but it's like he's both, He's two of the most iconic fucking heroes in history. Granted, one's more of an anti-hero. But what a different world we'd be living in if Tom Selleck was playing Indiana Jones. I'm grateful that it's Harrison Ford. And I think, honestly, I couldn't see anyone else. I mean, Tom Selleck a little bit. But, anyways, it's just been interesting because we've been revisiting them, and I'm watching them with that in my mind. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Harrison Ford is perfect. He is Indiana Jones. But could have been totally different. If that fucking Miami Vice contract wasn't there, we'd be watching Tom Selleck in fucking Dial of Destiny in 2020, whatever it came out, But anyways, Spielberg, heavy-handed behind the camera, and he makes an impeccable picture. We watched The Last Crusade and I think a little bit of Raiders. Stevie had Dial of Destiny on. I think last week I watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I've been watching them, not even in order, to be honest. But watching watching The Last Crusade, it was just so funny because I know when they were coming up with the idea too, they said, oh, we want it to be like the American James Bond. And I never put it together, but I'm like, oh, Sean Connery is his dad in The Last Crusade. I'm like, they literally got James Bond in their movie to play the father of Indiana Jones. It's just like, it's so perfect, And it was funny too. Stevie was telling me about how Indiana Jones' childhood home was in Colorado. I'm like, I think the intro of that movie is Arizona or Utah. They just back in the day, they used to be, oh, we're going to shoot this house here in Colorado. We're going to go out to Arizona to get that exterior, yada, yada, yada. And now everything's shot on a screen or just fucking a studio. And it's the care and fucking commitment to making it feel real back in the day was so good. And that's one thing I noticed. It's a through line through all of Spielberg's work, but particularly with the Indiana Jones film, some of the stuff that's pre-2000s particularly, or maybe pre-CGI, boom, is just so engaging because it feels like it's fucking really happening. The fight sequences, the chases. Maybe that's something Hollywood should consider, is going back to practical. Spielberg's a master of the practical effect, and it was just incredible. Oh God, I'll talk about it as well. Remind me, Fast and the Furious. I watched a lot of movies this week. My printer is jammed. I don't have my fucking notes, so I can't talk about it. We want to talk about practical effects. Anyways, the old Spielberg is really good. Indiana Jones, so well done. Crusade was good. I think when I was a kid, Crusade was my favorite. I've really grown to like Crystal Skull. I know initially it was just ripped apart because of people. They just don't want it to be. I remember seeing it in theaters with my mom and some of my friends, and it was back in 2008, and being disappointed when I saw it. Not with the first half. I like the first half. I know people joke about the nuclear bomb and him in the refrigerator. It's just not possible. I'm like, well, this guy fell out of a raft at 20,000 feet in the air, and he's still around. So, I mean, what's your jumping the shark moment for fucking Indiana Jones? I was okay with it. Anyways, that movie's aged better than I think. I think Crystal Skull got just so much hate because of it being modern, wasn't the Indiana Jones that they wanted. But watching it now, I think that movie has aged phenomenally. And I think Dial of Destiny will age well. I think they'll all age well. But I'll put a cap on Indiana Jones because everybody's seen it. Everybody knows it. Fantastic movies. I think that Harrison Ford was the right choice. Tom Selleck would have been interesting, no doubt. But everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. Okay, next Spielberg movie I watched this week was War of the Worlds. Now, War of the Worlds is probably one of two science fiction movies, let alone alien movies, that come to mind when I think of alien movies. I usually think of Signs and War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds is probably one of the scariest films I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, it's Tom Cruise. I don't remember the other, Dakota Fanning. There's a son. I don't remember his name, but it's really those three, the son, Tom, and Dakota. And he's like a dad who, if you haven't seen it, he's a dad who's separated from his wife. He's got his kids for the weekend, and his wife is pregnant with a new baby, going back to Boston. He's in New York, right, or Jersey. Anyways, he's like a crane operator too in a shipyard, and we see his life before, and then he's picking up the kids. Well, his son and him have a little bit of a strained relationship. The daughter's a good girl, but she knows the deal. She's smart for her age. Dakota Fanning was really good at playing smart for her age, even in movies like I Am Sam and some of her other work. Well, the son steals the car, the dad freaks out, and while the son steals the car, it's an alien invasion. Some lightning storm starts going on. They don't know it's an alien invasion yet, but there's something going on, right? And as soon as he realizes that, he comes he has to find the son. He chases the son. Actually, comes back to the house. He's like, "Dad, something happened. Like the car got like an EMP from the lightning storm." He's like, "Look, get to the house, hang out with your sister. I'm gonna go check it out." He goes to check it out. These big tripod things start coming out of the ground. They start fucking vaporizing people. That's the catalyst, right? And now we're on the road. He gets to his house. He's like, "Yo, we gotta leave. We gotta get out of town. We gotta go to Boston to your mom. Safety." So it turns into like a road escape movie. Stevie mentioned it's kind of like No Escape with Owen Wilson. I do agree with that as well. I also want to mention that this is based off H.G. Wells' book, War of the Worlds, which was written in 1889. So it's fucking crazy that this guy wrote this idea in the past, and then was able to bring it to life in the modern day is very different. But like knowing that this idea is old, like pre the car, it's fucking crazy. Anyways, I digress. The whole movie was just so terrifying. It shows you what happens during one of those chaotic events, a disaster movie. It's no different than I Am Legend or something like that, where you see how people start to act when there's survival is all that matters. And there's a beautiful sequence when they're driving. They have a working car, right? And they end up driving all night and they get into a town where it's just people everywhere. And the mob of people start turning on the car. They start banging on the windows. They start fucking trying to steal the car. And Tom Cruise has to like turn. He almost hits a lady because he's trying to speed through the people that are trying to like break the windshield. And he almost hits a woman with a baby and he just turns and he crashes right into a telephone pole. And when he gets out of the car, people are trying to rip him from the car. And Dakota's in the backseat screaming. The son gets out and he's trying to push people away too. And then Tom just takes out a pistol, a revolver, like the crowd dissipates, right? And then he's like, "All right, I just want to get my car and go." And then somebody puts a gun to his head and says, "No, I want your car." And he's like, "I don't care." He drops the gun. He's like, "Just let me get my daughter." He grabs the daughter. They go into a diner. While they're walking to the diner, camera pans down to the gun and another guy picks it up and he sees the other guy with the gun get into the car. And then when they're in the diner, you can see the car moving through the crowd and they turn and they see the guy who picked up Tom's gun shoots the guy with the gun in the car. And it's just like, that says it all. People, when they are put into a rock in a hard place, whatever the position that's no good, they will start to act radically. They will do things that are not good. They're not human. They're fucking evil. And it just, when a crisis breaks out, like, it's obviously a fictionalization, but like there's some truth to that people fucking act different. They get very, very primal. They get very tribal and that they want to protect themselves. It's all about, the word's escaping me, but just not self-reliance, but like staying alive. That's all it's about is just trying to self-preservation is the word I was looking for. How can I preserve my life right now in this moment? Even if it's as simple as like, I need that car. I'm going to kill somebody for it. It's the shit you hear that happens in like a carjacking or something. But to have like in this movie, it's just normal average people. They start turning on each other. Societies become anarchy. That's why it's so important we have law and order. It's so important we have rules. We have the social contract between us and other people that I'm going to do the right thing and I hope you do too. And I think right now, especially it could be more of a commentary on America and the world in general, but I feel like moral compass is broke. We're in a very morally bankrupt time in the world where people don't abide by the social contract. And the social contract is all that matters because I abide by the social contract that we're all going to use the honor system, do the right thing. I'm not going to steal from your store. I'm not going to graffiti your wall. I'm not going to push you over. I'm not going to stab you. I'm not going to shoot you. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to do anything that could hurt somebody else because I believe in the social contract. And I'll relate this to my own life. I'm in a lawsuit. We're getting close to mediation, probably going to settle because somebody wronged me from what I understand and what I believe, my allegations. And the fact we're heading towards mediation and settlement says it all. They obviously are, probably feeling that they broke the social contract, if that's the case. I can't speak for them and I can't speak factually. And I have to say this legally because I don't want anything to lead to repercussions outside of this podcast. But even when you have someone break the social contract and it's not as deep as murder or, something like getting beat or something, in this movie, it's fucking straight murder. This guy murders someone to steal a car. It's awful. But when you break the social contract, you must pay the consequences. You must have accountability. And if anything, I could care less about the money that I may get from this mediation or settlement. I care about the truth and justice and making sure somebody who has wronged someone is held accountable because that's all that matters. And if we can't have accountability and we can't have trust in society, then what is society? It's not much of a society. It becomes anarchy. It becomes something that you can't recognize. And I want to live a safe and normal life, and I abide by the social contract. And I think when you're in a movie like War of the Worlds or No Escape, your morals get skewed. Tom Cruise, even in War of the Worlds, has to do things that he would never do if he didn't have to do. There's a scene also, and I love that scene with the van. Probably one of the most harrowing, scary scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And because it's Steven Spielberg, he's just chef's kiss, like fucking one of the best. Like the sequence is fucking haunting. I'm seeing it in my mind right now. It's just so beautifully done. Another sequence in the movie is the one with Tim Robbins. Uh, Robbie, Tom Cruise's son in the movie, runs off to join the military because he's like, Dad, I have to see it. Let go. Like he has that sense of fucking in his internal fucking inside of him that's like, I have to help. I have to do something. I can't just watch this passively. And the dad's like, you don't. But the kid runs off and he's like, fuck it. And he takes Dakota and they go into this basement of this old farmhouse with this guy, Tim Robbins' character, who's fucking crazy. He thinks he can beat the aliens. He's paranoid. He speaks loudly, and Tom Cruise is like, dude, you gotta be quiet. My daughter. He talks about all the evil shit going on in the world. He's like, I'm trying to protect my daughter, even just from hearing about the evils of what's going on right now. You're preventing me from keeping her safe. And it gets to the point where the Tim Robbins character, they're there for like a day or two. They have like the aliens are probing around with their little cameras, looking around to see who's there. And the Tim Robbins character becomes like ultra paranoid. He starts freaking out because he sees what they're doing. They're like harvesting people, and like it's almost like they're terraforming the earth with this like red fucking like it looks like blood, but it's like a red plant that they're creating. And anyways, they're trying to make it so it's their environment and like overwrite the earth and erase us, right? And Tom Cruise, like the guy gets to the point of such paranoia and like manicness that he's like, he tells his daughter, like, cover your ears and sing this fucking lullaby. And he kills this man. And it's like, he doesn't want to break the social contract, but he is forced to do it out of self-preservation. And that's, once again, this is why, like, obviously an alien invasion is an extreme situation, but let's just say there was any type of like social distress, civil war, where people are just like, hey, you know what? Like, we don't really have law enforcement right now. We don't really have law and order right now. Imagine what that world looks like. Probably similar to this. Maybe a different type of paranoia. It's not aliens and shit flying in from fucking outer space. But if you're in a situation like war, civil war, where law and order doesn't exist and people realize it and they take advantage of it, that is the worst case scenario for everyone in the world. Anarchy and chaos. And I think like law, order, and just like the social contract, like I've said, it's so important. We must abide by the social contract, all of us. And this movie really pointed that out. And I think that's what got me. Yes, there's a father-son story and a father-daughter story going on. There's a family element to it. There is a space invasion or alien invasion rather going on, extraterrestrials, trying to eliminate the human race. But the real scary thing is the people. How do people act when they are put in these situations? And I'll leave it at that. It is the most terrifying thing that can happen. Okay. Really excited to see Disclosure Day. That's why I bring up the Spielberg films. I don't know if I'll be the first one in theaters to see it, but I told everybody I'm dragging you to go see it. Let's go see this fucking movie. It's one I want to see in theaters. I'm very optimistic about how it'll be. I want to talk about one last movie I watched. I actually watched the first two Fast and the Furious films, but I had not seen the first Fast and the Furious in a while. Dude, this movie was so fucking well made. I see on Peacock right now they have the 25th anniversary version of Fast and the Furious, right? And there's nothing different about it. It's just like, hey, like it's 25th anniversary. And I'd seen some clips of Vin Diesel watching it at Cannes, and he's there and he's doing a very like, watery-eyed speech after saying like, I can't believe like after 25 years, like this movie came out, it was considered just like an action movie. And now Cannes is saying like, hey, this is a fucking certified classic. Like this movie has become a part of this business. It's so important to this business. And look, I get it. The other Fast and the Furious movies, we tried to watch some of the other ones later down the line. They're not for me. They're very, very they're not out there. They're very over the top action films, but I'm sure they're very good if you like those type of movies. And I'm not even saying I wouldn't watch them, but number one was so well written I realized this time it's basically Donnie Brasco. Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, is an undercover cop. He infiltrates this family that is like street crime and rips off trucks, and he becomes a part of that fucking family. And I know the meme, I know the joke, like family with Vin Diesel, but the first one hits. Like you really feel like this guy becomes a part of their family, and he actually thinks like maybe they're more important to me than like the police I work with in this lifestyle. And dude, like the script was incredible. The dialogue was incredible. The emotional weight of like what happens to these characters, you feel it. And not only that, the driving, like stunt performance was so good because it was all practical. Drivers were incredible. Yes, there's some CGI during the races, but those are more like to show like the car and the nitrous and shit, right? Cool shit. They show some racing at the racetrack, but the sequence, in my opinion, that is just fucking bonkers. It must have been so crazy to film. They're in Coachella Valley and they're ripping off a semi truck. And this is when Brian O'Connor, he tells his lover Mia, he's like, hey, like I am actually a fucking cop. and I am after your brother and them. But he's like, I know that if they go and rip off this truck, that they're gonna die. These truckers are fighting back. They're gonna shoot them. They're gonna fucking. It's not gonna end well for the family. Like, you let me go and help. And even though it's the ultimate betrayal, him stepping in helps. But that sequence of them trying to get onto this semi truck is just so fucking intense. Everybody was watching it. Our eyes were fucking glued to the screen. It was maybe one of the best action sequences I've ever seen. And it's just, it really, like, Hollywood needs to just wake up. Like, if you're going to give somebody $100 million or $250 million, like fucking Chris Nolan, go out and do that. Let me see the real effects. Let me see stuntmen. You can see the stuntmen. I don't care. I don't care if it's not the same fucking person. It's real. A real guy is jumping onto that semi truck. A real guy is jumping back in this car. Use your Hollywood tricks to trick my eyes, but I believed it when I was watching it. It was so intense. Your heart's racing. You're on the edge of your seat. It sounds so cheesy to say this shit, but it is literally how I felt. Just masterful filmmaking. And I will say the same thing for Too Fast, Too Furious. Yes, maybe Vin Diesel's presence not being in it is felt, but like Brian O'Connor as a protagonist, Tyrese Gibson as the co-protagonist, so well done. Their friendship makes sense. I won't go into the plot of two because it's kind of just like another undercover cop movie, right? They're infiltrating like a drug lord in this one, mobster, right? A crime boss. But it's just like the scripts were so fucking good. And it's also just a big, timestamp. Like, I always say that about movies, but like, culture is preserved in those films. That culture of Fast and the Furious in the early 2000s, that was my childhood. I remember how people dressed. I remember the music. I remember the vibe. It was almost nostalgic watching it. And it's also at the same time just like, wow, like I can look into the past a little bit and see what life used to be like. And I miss that era. Not in a like, oh, I miss like, oh, that. But I mean, like, the way people were. It was just a different world. And like, pre-iPhone, pre-internet, not pre-internet, but like pre-social media, life was fucking beautiful. And like, I think people are really waking up to that. And look, I use social media myself to promote myself and do all my shit, so I get it. But seeing how life was back then, it seemed like people were happier. Seems like things were better. And like, the cars were certainly cooler. I'll say that. Also, like, if I ever get enough money to fucking buy like a pimped out, I don't know if this is even like socially acceptable to say, but like a rice rocket, is what everybody calls them. Dude, 100%. I would love to get one and fucking live that Fast and the Furious lifestyle. I wouldn't even be a racer, but I'd pull fucking mob around at night in my underglow with my fucking sick ass decal / paint job, blow out valves, little nitrous, have some fun, live my fucking Paul Walker fantasy out. Also, I know Paul Walker passed, and I think it's so sad because he's such a talent. And he's actually in some of my other favorite movies, Pleasantville, Joyride. Joyride's one of those movies. And I'll talk about Joyride. I'll cover Joyride on here. I don't think I have, but that's one of those movies that like I've probably watched like hundreds of times with Steve Zahn and Paul Walker. It's a road movie as well. But like, I will say this, it's sad that Paul Walker died, and especially in the way he did. But like, I genuinely believe he died doing what he loved. He wanted to be behind the wheel of that fucking car. And yeah, gone way too fucking soon. Way too fucking soon. He's just a great talent. And I never heard anything controversial about him. So I'm a fan, and I'm very disappointed that obviously he's gone. But like, wow, it seemed like he really like loved that lifestyle, and he was about it, and also gave him the lifestyle he wanted. He was in movies outside of the Fast and the Furious franchise, but that movie made him a movie star. It made him who he is, and it made everybody else the stars they were. And like, I even saw Vin Diesel in that presser at Cannes. He was in tears, but like, I think mostly he probably just misses his friend. It's great to have success. Success is so wonderful, and it's such a great thing. And I'm sure they're not worried about money, and they have their own problems, but in that movie, you can tell, like, and for Vin Diesel for that fact as well, like, he was already coming up, and same with Paul Walker. They're both doing well in Hollywood. They're climbing the ranks per se, right? But that movie turned them all, and everyone in it, Michelle Rodriguez, I can't remember Mia's name, but anyone who was involved in that IP became a star because it was that fucking good. One of the writers too, David Ayer, I always reference it. That's probably his best work. Not to be a hater. He made like Fury, and he did like Suicide Squad, but like, whatever that was in the water during that production, that was their best work. Not to say their other work isn't good. It's just, I don't think they ever got to those same heights as maybe writers. My honest opinion. Anyways, Fast and the Furious 1 and 2, particularly 1 for me. I've seen 2 more. Stevie and I talked about. 2 is one I watch all the time, but 1 is a perfect movie. And 2 is a perfect movie too, but 1, if it was just the only one, it is a movie that literally, like, until the last fucking beat, it has you. And like, same with Richard Jewell, same with all the movies I talked about. What is it? What is that thing that makes us love the movie so much? And I don't think you could explain that to somebody. That's that inexplicable X factor that truly makes a movie great. And that's why you can't, like, I'll tie this back into everything I talked about. Obsession with Curry Baker. You know, if you watch Milk and Cereal, you might be like, I'm into that kind of like found footage, home footage type movie. But you're not expecting Obsession to be this movie that just does that, not just financial returns, but people like it too. You cannot predict it. You cannot manufacture it. Things that are good are simply good. And I think that's one of Hollywood's biggest problems. You're trying to take something that's good and manufacture another good product. You can't do it. You have to just simply go out and create and trust the filmmakers and the actors and everybody involved to make something great. And yeah, it's just something that you can't plan for. Anyways, I feel like I've ranted and rambled quite a bit. I'm going to do what I usually do at this segment now, which is read a little bit of the filmmaker mindset. We'll pick a page and we'll just go for it. Maybe I'll go towards the back end this time. Wow, this one's good. Okay, I have 2, and I'll riff off both of these. My films feel alive because I am. I do agree with that. I'm very happy to, be alive, and every day is a fucking blessing, and I'm excited about life. I don't think that fire in me is ever going to go out. And I'll pair it with this one. Fear means I'm moving forward, not backwards. To be alive and to be fucking scared. What a blessing. I'm not afraid of not having success. I'm afraid of not capitalizing on my potential. And even if that means I fail in the long run, I don't really care. Life is short. Yeah, granted, it's longer than you think, but every day is a day that passes that you can't chase your dream, that you can't get on top of it. And I'm more afraid now of, one, not capitalizing on my potential and seeing my full potential be fulfilled, but also just like, even with Peninsula Nights coming out, like, dude, success is a crazy thing. And like, you've got to be scared of what happens next to some extent. And fear isn't necessarily being scared. It's a feeling that can drive you. Fear is a huge, huge driver, and the fear of missing out, FOMO, right? You're not scared. You're afraid that maybe the moment will pass and you won't be able to capitalize on your dream. Or you're afraid that maybe if I do this, which I think this happens to a lot of artists, I don't know if I actually want to have success or be famous or be known. Like, it could be scary, I seen the guy who won the lottery, won like 400 mil. And he said, like, my whole family left me. I got sued like 400 times. Sometimes be careful what you wish for, right? In this case, I feel like if you're not moving forward, then like you don't really care and like you don't really have fear of it because you're kind of like, well, I'm not that serious about it. If you're serious about it, it should, fear should drive you. It should be like, hey, like, I'm afraid of not working harder. I'm afraid that, I don't even know how to say it. You got to let fear be a catalyst, but you can't let it control you. You got to be brave too and have courage and like stand up to your fear and just be like, okay, I'm going to keep moving forward. Fear, though, drives me forward. Like, I always hear Martin Scorsese say, like, oh, I don't know if they'll let me have make another movie. I don't know if I'll get another one. I don't know if they'll finance it. He's afraid that they won't let him do it. And it's like, dude, you're Martin fucking Scorsese. If you're worried, we should all be worried. But yeah. Anyways, fear is a propellant and it does move you forward. It's moved me forward many times in life to just make decisions. And like, fear is the feeling you feel before being brave and having courage to move forward. And I think you just got to keep that in mind, that if you're not fearful of what comes next or fearful of like not getting it done or doing the next thing, then like maybe it's not what you should be doing anyways. You should want to feel that, those butterflies in your stomach per se, that excites you about this career and moving forward and trying to make the best thing you can make. So I'll leave you with that. I think it's Wednesday, so I don't even think this Disclosure Day movie's out yet, but I'm going to go try and catch that. I promise you, I've watched a lot of movies this week. I know this was a little jumbled today and have my fucking like hard paper notes, but yeah, I'll definitely watch a bunch of movies this week, give updates on that shit. Hopefully the UFO app is out and running. I'm excited to publish the game, working on the script. The house is about to sell. It seems like everything's like literally like, it's funny like documenting this because this is almost like an audio diary. And just knowing that, like, look, dude, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking on here on episode like 60 or something. And look, now we're here. It's just time will tell, and time, kind of dictates all. We're here now. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I got. Once again, thank you guys for always listening. If you want to check out my socials, I'm not even trying to hard promo, but I've been having a lot of subs lately. I've been having a lot of attraction to Instagram and fucking YouTube. So go check out at Devin Thomas Films, or actually, excuse me, at Devin Thomas Film, not Films Film, on YouTube and Instagram, and give me a follow and just stick with it and check out the movie. If you haven't seen Peninsula Nights, it's out now on YouTube, like I said, to what I think is great success, and Encounter also out there right now, and as well as the podcast. So stay up to date, stay tuned, and I'm going to keep creating. You guys do it too. All right, guys. This has been another episode of Unscripted. I always butcher it. Maybe I shouldn't do this outro. Maybe I should just do something else. I feel like I used to just be like sitting there like so dialed in. My name is Devin Thomas, and this has been another episode of Unscripted. I'll talk to you all next week. Have a good one, guys.